about that, I like to talk about how if we take a little walk in their shoes, our brain is affected by that. I want to start with a story, a personal experience that I had a little while ago when I was in Brussels for a conference. And when I was walking back from the conference to my hotel, it was cold, it was snowing. There was a man sitting on the street in the snow. And what did I do? I ignored him. I passed him. I walked to my hotel, and once reaching the safety of my warm room, I felt very, very, very guilty. So I walked back, but he was gone. Walked back to the hotel again, and really wondered how I was able to do this, how I was just thinking about going fast to my hotel where it was warm, and ignoring this man that was clearly poor and needed help on the street. So I decided to search for answers, to look in scientific literature to find an answer to that question. And I want to take you along on that quest for that answer. And I know from psychological experiments and neuroscience that if I want to get a message across to you all, I have to call in your emotions. So that's what I'm going to do in this little talk. So I want you to watch the next video and tell me what you feel. There will be a close-up. Okay, you don't need to tell me anymore what you felt. It's clear from the sound and the expressions in your face. You more or less, not exactly, but you more or less felt what this poor guy felt. And Singer and Lamb actually found out why that is, and other people did also. Because they found out that when you watch somebody who is in pain, actually similar neural networks are activated in your brain that are also activated when you yourself are in pain. And that's why you can more or less feel what somebody else in pain feels. And this gives us the ability to empathize with people in pain. So you would think that would help us, right, when we see somebody in trouble or in pain. However, these mimicking neural systems sometimes work and sometimes they don't. And I want to explain to you why and when they do not. Therefore, I want you to take some time to look at the next picture. For those of you with a weak stomach, I have to warn you, it involves maggots. I want to take some time to look at it and again tell me what you feel. Okay, that is clear too. I hear Togther, which is like yak in English. What you felt is disgust, right? You look at that paper, at that picture, and you feel disgusted. And disgust is a special emotion, because normally when we think about people or interact with people, a part in our brain is activated. It's called the medial prefrontal cortex. It's behind the eye sockets, more or less. And that part is very important for social cognition. So when we interact or when we think about each other, that part of our brain is activated. However, when you look at somebody who disgusts you, then there is less activation in the medial prefrontal cortex. That part that is so important for social cognition is less activated. This are results from an experiment by Harris and Fiske. And they concluded from their results that when this part of the brain is less activated, when we look at people that disgust us, we do not see these people as human beings in the same extent as we see people that do not disgust us. Take some time to think about that. Because if we see people as less than human, this might explain why we can treat them as less than human. And it might explain why we can commit crimes against humanity. Crimes like war crimes, women trafficking, child abuse, discrimination, but also ignoring a beggar in the snow. And of course, when we know this knowledge, when we have some insight into this neural process, there is another question. Can we counteract this process of dehumanization? And I'm not the first one who is asking this question. Also, Harris and Fiske asked the same question. And in the follow-up of their study, they showed that if you put yourself in somebody's shoes, somebody who is in need, somebody who disgusts you, then you reactivate that part of the brain. You reactivate the medial prefrontal cortex, right? Your social cognition is going to work again. And you can do that in a very simple way, they showed. If you ask yourself a simple question like, does this person like carrots more than broccoli, for example, then already you are reactivating this part of the brain. We also did some research on this topic at my lab in the University of Tilburg, and we showed that if we have people experiencing the daily life of people with dementia, then actually we enhance their empathy for these people, right? All this kind of research shows that we are not hardwired to feel certain emotions in certain circumstances. We are not hardwired to show the same behavior over and over again in these circumstances. We know that the brain drives our thoughts, our behavior, our feelings, experiences. Everybody does understand that. But we also know that our own thoughts, our behavior, our feelings, our experiences influence our brain. And with influencing, I mean they structure our brain. They make the functions of our brain, they change those functions. So by deliberately exposing yourself to certain experiences or actions, you can change the function of your brain. We are not hardwired, and therefore we can go from dehumanization to rehumanization, as Fiske and Harris also showed. So now you have a little bit of insight into the answer to the question why we can ignore people in need. And you also know how a little walk in their shoes is affecting our brain. Well, with all this knowledge in mind, I like to propose a worldwide, real-life social problem-solving experiment. And I want you all to be part of it. Let's actively try to walk more often in the shoes of somebody in need or somebody who agitates us and see how it affects our world. I'm looking forward to your experiences. Thank you very much.